Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. Welcome to another video in my series, Stampin' Up! Scrapbooking. Today, I will create a double page layout featuring the Two Market Designer Series paper that's in the 2024-2025 annual catalog. That catalog is available until the end of April 2025. I'm also going to be using a bunch of tools. Some are current Stampin' Up! Products, others are retired. Everything I use will be listed below, along with my link to Stampin' Up! And if you live in Canada and use the link, I will get a commission. If you have a local demonstrator, by all means support him or her. But if you don't and something catches your eye, thank you from the bottom of my heart. My inspiration for this layout came from a sketch that was in a Stampin' Up! Scrapbooking workshop from last fall called Autumn to Remember. That's the workshop sample that you see on the screen. All Stampin' Up! Workshop kits come with step-by-step instructions for layout, so I thought I would revisit this one using different material. Now what you see on the screen is my interpretation of that sketch using the workshop kit. So let's get started using different material and see what happens. And you're going to see on my desk, I've already matted 6 photos. I've actually double matted them. That's me on a truffle farm in the Burgundy region of France. So I'm just showing you all the photos there. They are double matted with white cardstock and garden green. So from that Two Market collection, I thought the papers worked really well with these photos. I'm showing you that floral one with my focal point photo. That's me with a dog on my lap. That doesn't happen very often. Believe me, I'm a cat person. I like dogs, but I am a cat person. So I'm kind of unfamiliar around dogs. That's why that photo's funny. Anyway, you can see the papers that I've selected to go with this page. In addition to that, I have a printed vellum. It's a retired product from Stampin' Up! I also have that two-tone cardstock from Stampin' Up! As well. It's garden green. That's what I matted my photos with. And I have 2 sheets of Willow white cardstock. So all this paper is from Stampin' Up! In addition to that, I have a bunch of tools, and I'm going to talk more about the tools later on in the process when I embellish my page. But again, some are current, some are retired. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut up a bunch of paper. But first, actually, I'm going to show you that workshop instruction sheet. So each one of those scrapbooking workshops from Stampin' Up! That started last autumn, they come with step-by-step instructions. I am showing you the page there. That's what I created with the workshop kit. You can see as well on the page, there's that diagonal cut file. It came as part of the workshop kit. I'm going to replace that with that vellum. See, obviously I didn't have all the same material that was in the workshop kit, but that's actually what makes this project fun, because I'm using more or less the same design, but it's going to look completely different with different material. So as you can see, I am cutting up a bunch of paper, and I will put measurements for this on the screen later on. The instructions in the workshop kit do come with measurements. Mine are different, and for that reason, I can put them on the screen, because basically what I am doing here is my interpretation of the sketch. So it's a bit different than what Stampin' Up! Provided, but that was my jumping off point. So now what I'm going to do is ink up all of these papers, or the printed papers. I don't ink up the vellum, and the ink I'm using is Morning Mist by Versifying Claret. I'm not going to make you watch all of that. And now what I'm going to do is place all of these papers on the screen. So on the page, I should say. So you can see I have them all kind of placed, and the reason why I decided to revisit this design is because it's very different for me. Normally, when I create a double page layout, I would have a border that goes across the 2 pages, or a mat that goes across the 2 pages, but this is all kind of in layered chunks. So it's really different for me. I wanted to do something different, which is why I decided to revisit this sketch. As you can see, I've moved ahead and I'm adhering all of these page parts. Again, I'm not going to make you watch all of this, but I'm just kind of positioning that floral paper so that it equally has white edges all around the outside. That block there is much smaller. The floral block that I have there, the one on the sketch is much, much smaller. Again, I'm not going to make you watch all of this, but basically I'm adhering this to the page. I will do the same thing for the opposite page. I wanted to make sure that that pale pink paper and the vellum were at the same height, basically the same distance from the bottom and top of the page on each one of them. Now what you see me doing is adhering that vertical row of photos. The other photos I'm going to keep separate for a while because that's where my embellishing is going to go. So I don't want to commit to adhering them to the page until I play around a bit with embellishing, but I do know I want that vertical line of photos. And that again is something different from the original sketch. Basically, I used the foundation layer as my inspiration, but for the rest, I had to kind of go on my own to make it work with my photos. Before showing you my embellishing, I do want to do a bit of die cutting. So this die set here, it's called Frosted Forest dies. I'm doing this video about 2.5 weeks before it is published. And at that time, when I'm creating it, that die set was on sale on the last chance section for $19.60 instead of $49. Killer deal. So there's this tree that I'm making now that has 3 different layers, and there's also other trees as well. It's a beautiful die set. So you can see I've cut out 3 different layers. I'm using that 2-tone cardstock as well, that garden green, so I'm using both sides of it. I basically have the base tree, a kind of layer, a detailed layer that goes on top, and I'm using that sticky specs adhesive from Ecstasy Crafts to adhere it on top of it. Basically, it's an adhesive that you place a detailed die cut on top of it and it picks up the adhesive. I'm doing the same thing for the tree trunk and branches there, and I'm going to layer that on top, and it makes this absolutely beautiful tree there. I do end up making more off camera, but I did want to do a sample of that. And again, if it's still available, it's a killer deal. I love dies, tree dies. Anyway, I'm showing you a current die set. This one is called Around It All dies, and it's basically nesting wonky circle dies. This is on a truffle farm, and you can see in the photo there in the top right, there's a truffle in my hand, which is kind of a weird shaped mushroom that grows under the ground. So what I took was the smallest wonky circle, and I'm cutting a few out with the black 2-tone cardstock. So I'm using both sides. One's black and one's kind of charcoal. Now here are the other embellishments. I am showing you the this one is called Market Goodness. It goes with this 2 market paper. I do not use that Stampin' die set because that one has kind of a farmer's market vibe. That's why I ended up digging into my stash. I'm showing you that I fussy cut some bags. That's from one of the papers in this 2 market collection. I also fussy cut those floral bunches as well from another paper. In addition to that, I'm showing you I have a pile of those wonky circles in that charcoal and black. I also stamped and punched out a dog from a retired Stampin' Up set called Happy Tales. Those are the trees that I made with that Frosted Forest die set. I also have a bunch of leaves that I made for, actually I made it for a past layout there. That's from a collection called Love of Leaves. Again, retired. I use it all the time. I also was looking for wine glasses. So I have this old set from Stampin' Up called Brewed For You, and I stamped those out. I didn't end up using them. Basically, I went through my tools and I was looking for anything that could go with this truffle farm visit, and I made a bunch of stuff. So I don't end up using it all. I'm also showing you I did punch out my title with a die set called Mini Alphabet Dies. That's a current die set from Stampin' Up. I backed a piece of cardstock. The color is Blackberry Bliss, I think. It's part of this collection. It's in this collection. And I punched them out. So it's the Truffle Farm Day 6. And I used that little mini die set there. And I did do my journaling off camera. I did it twice. Once is justified to the right. Once is justified to the left because I don't know where I'm going to place it at this point. I have another brand new die set here. It's called Textured Notes dies. Really cool. Basically nesting rectangle dies with embossed edges. I had taken it and I had cut one of each out in white, and I have them handy just in case there. I don't end up using them as well, but that's no big deal. I can use that on anything. In addition to that, off camera, I did end up cutting myself out some more of those wonky circles from the Around It All die set, so I have that handy as well. So what I'm going to do right now is start building embellishment clusters, and like I often do with double page spreads, I do them on a diagonal, kind of top left and then hugging the bottom right corner. So that's what you see me doing right now, working on the right. So I put one tree down. I ended up putting one of those wonky circles just to add a bit of contrast because it's green on green. I put in a few bags there because if you look at the farmer, he does have kind of a satchel there where he's collecting the truffles. I have the little dog there, and I'm coming in with some leaves and some of those wonky circles there. So I'm kind of liking actually how this is looking. I come in with the wine glasses, but I'm liking how it looks right now. So I'm going to leave it be. And what I'm going to do is start working on the top left corner. So once again, I'm basically going to repeat more or less what I have on the right, except I will do it in different quantities. And it's here, I think, that I'm going to be placing my journaling just because I have more room there over on the far left. So I have that circle up there, and then what I will do is come in and add a few trees on top of it. Again, those trees are green, that garden green, and that border underneath is a different paper, but it's the same garden green. So it's basically a garden green with a tone-on-tone motif on it. I added that wonky circle on top of it. I kind of like that actually, even though it doesn't fully back my journaling, it does make my journaling stand out, so I'm quite happy about that. Tucking in another one of those bags. So when I'm creating these embellishment clusters, I am repeating elements, but I'm doing it in a different size. And in this one, for example, I don't put another dog. I just put the bag along with some of those truffles. And I think eventually I add a few leaves. Actually, I did already. I can see them there. I'm playing around a bit with the title, but honestly, I do not know what I'm going to do with the title at this point, but I know I have a few options. So I snapped a few photos of my clusters, and now what I'm going to do is just start adhering this. And once all this is down, then I will play with my title. So I'm starting with the tree, then a wonky circle, then coming in with my photo because I know where it's going to go. Once again, with a few more trees. So I'm really very happy with this. I'm happy that I'm finally getting to use those Frosted Forest dies. I myself bought them on the clearance rack, and I was so incredibly thrilled with the price. I hope it's still there when this video goes up because it really is a killer deal if you like tree dies. I happen to love tree dies. I decide to pop up that dog with a bit of foam adhesive. You can see I basically backed the dog in another piece of cardstock and then added some foam adhesive. I have a couple of those bags there, some of those leaves and the truffles. The truffles, I am fully aware that they are off scale compared to the dogs, but you know what? They represent the truffles at the farm where I was visiting. Now what I'm going to do is the very same thing over on the left-hand page. So I'm starting with that photo that is closest to the middle. What I'm making sure of here is that it's at the same level from the bottom as the photo on the right-hand page. Now what I'm doing is tucking some of the stuff that's going to go behind that larger photo on the left. So I start with the circles, a couple of those trees, coming in with another circle. Now these two photos here on my original layout that I made, I had them overlapping. However, for this one, I happen to know I am going to be adding a flip flap, which is like a pocket that you adhere on top of a photo to add extra photos. It kind of flips up. I'm not going to do it on YouTube simply because I have photos that I can't share on YouTube. They are my travel mates and I don't share them on YouTube. So I continued adhering that cluster, and now what you see me doing is playing around with my title. So I have it on that floral paper. I kind of like it, but now what I'm doing is bringing in another one of those wonky circles. I do like how that looks because it does create a visual triangle with the two other areas with those wonky circles. And I ended up deciding to put day 6 on top of the photo over on the right. I'm doing that because I want it to be consistent with the rest of my travel album. I have basically been identifying my layouts as day 1, day 2, day 3 on my vacation. So I'm happy with that. You can see I'm kind of slicing off the bottom of that wonky circle. I just want it to be flat at the bottom of that floral paper. And now what I'm going to do is start adhering my title. So I'm starting at the bottom there with Farm because I do know I want it to end there. And then what I am going to do is just continue adhering my title on top of it. I do not make you watch all of this, but I just wanted to let you know that I start at the bottom and then I kind of work my way up to the top, and you can see I'm using my T-square to keep me straight, and I also adhered the title on top of that photo on the right. Now what I'm thinking of doing is just adding a tiny little cluster down by the title at the bottom there. So I'm adding a few leaves and a few more of those wonky circles. So I'm hearing that at one point you're going to see me, I slice off one of my truffles there and have it squared off just like that big white circle. I adhere it, but in the end you're going to see I change my mind. I end up pulling it off and I add a full round truffle, and it kind of overlaps that squared bottom towards the bottom of the page. Aside from that, that's pretty much it. Now what I want to do is show you the original layout because it is the same design. So that's the instruction sheet that comes with all of the workshop kits. There are cutting guides in there. There are step-by-step instructions. You can do it as is, or you can add to it as well. This is my interpretation of it. That's what it looked like using the workshop material. So I used the same design, but different material. And this is what I ended up doing. So they do look very different, but I definitely got my inspiration from that workshop kit. So that is it. I did not do anything off camera. I hope I've inspired you to revisit old designs with different material. It's really a fun and easy way to scrapbook. I also hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very, very much. Have a great day, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.